auspicious occasion of Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose's 126th birth anniversary, I would like to address not only the Bengali people, not only the Indian people, not only the people across the Asian continent or Indian subcontinent. I would like to address the people across the global arena. Actually, I am speaking in English only to carry the message of Netaji Subhash Bose's patriotism and the relevance of Netaji Subhash Bose in the turbulent modern times, postmodern times, when in many parts of our nation and in many parts of the world, we are witnessing the terrible kind of disintegration. We are witnessing a kind of scenario where people are being dissected. People are being bisected on the basis of caste, community, religion, languages, etc., etc. The identity of the common people across the world, across the global periphery, is being restricted to certain narrow centric ideas. And I have often repeated this particular point that I believe, and not I do believe, it was the prime conviction of Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose, who used to adore and worship our Nobel laureate Rabindranath Tagore. And Netaji Subhash was deeply influenced by Tagore's religion of man, where Rabindranath Tagore virtually made a display and beautifully established that the identity of man, the religion, if we do have any religion at all among us, among the people, among human community, that is the religion of man. I have repeatedly spoken the same thing time and again. We don't belong to the Hindu, Muslim, Buddha, Jain, or Christians, or Israelites, or Yehudis, or like that, or Sikhs, etc. No. Or Mohammedans, no. We are human beings, after all, of the same blood, the color of which is red. I have also pointed out previously. And this was the prime conviction of Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose. To him, to Netaji Subhash Bose, our identity wasn't restricted to any particular community. We don't belong to the sub-communities of Brahmin, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, all like that. No. Or a Hindu, or Muslim, Christian, Buddhist, no. Netaji Subhash Bose always used to believe that if our collective energy gets concentrated and focused against the British empires, against the oppressive British empires, we can easily oust them from our motherland, and we can clinch our independence. The time when Netaji Subhash Bose joined Indian National Congress after successfully completing his ICS, coming out fourth in the ICS exam. Only after intense study of 6 months or like that, Netaji stood fourth in the Indian civil service examinations. You can understand and you can read quite easily what a terrible talent Netaji Subhash Bose was. Not only in terms of academics, but also in terms of his bravery, gallantry, his integrity of character, in terms of his love for the common people, in terms of his romantic attitude towards patriotism. romantic in the sense he used to love his motherland so much so that his only one mantra was to clinch independence, to clinch independence out of the Britishers. And that's why, Netaji Subhash Bose always believed that the Indian National Congress should accumulate the collective energy of all sections of the society, of all sects of the then Indian society. The Indian National Congress, under the leadership of Mahatma Gandhi at the time, was often eluding this particular path of addressing everybody. Whenever the clash of interest, was loomed large in the decision-making arena of the Indian National Congress, we often witness to our horror that our national leaders preferred to sacrifice, or they were a bit shaky in uplifting the causes of the poor proletariat community. For the sake of upholding the causes of Jamindars, Tahsildars, or the then elite classes of Indian society. And this is exactly where, Netaji Subhash Bose contradicted to the mainstream of that Indian National Congress. Netaji Subhash Bose firmly believed and was firmly, believed that if the entire Indian community, if all the peoples, the rich, the poor, particularly the 95% proletariat, 97 to 98%, working class community peasantries, if they just, get, united on common platform to house the Britishers, the Britishers would be nowhere. But the common people, the peasantries, the working class community were again and again getting frustrated when they used to note that the Indian National Congress was preparing, to sacrifice their causes at the expense, in preference to the elite class and Jamindars, and Tata Birlas, Goenkers, Jamindars, Tahsildars, etc., etc. And that's why, a clash of ideology came to light, between the then Congress leadership and Netaji Subhash Bose. You can understand how deep Netaji's personality was. I have already told in today's in Bengali though, to my colleagues and to my students, in this morning, that, when Netaji Subhash Bose was elected president of the Indian National Congress in 1938 for the first time, he wanted to steer the mainstream Indian politics to a real energetic nature. And he wanted to praise the Britishers so much so that the Britishers was feeling restless. And Netaji was getting so much popular that within, it's a very sorry thing, but historically true. Anybody who has a bit knowledge about Indian history might understand that, some certain Congress leadership, the then leadership, were a bit jealous, were a bit envious about Netaji's popularity and Netaji's gallantry, Netaji's bravery, Netaji's poetically dynamic, tremendous personality. And just because, that they preferred to obstruct Netaji again and again. They preferred to hide Netaji's brilliance again and again. Because they were fearing that if Netaji proceeds to such an extent, their towering personality, will be at stake. And that's why they were trying to, hide Netaji's supreme patriotism, supreme flavor of patriotism. And Mahatma Gandhi, when it stood evident that Netaji was growing more and more popular, not only among the Indian common people, but also among the Indian National Congress members within the party, within the Indian National Congress. So, Mahatma Gandhi, anybody who has a bit knowledge about Indian freedom history might understand that, Mahatma Gandhi, from 6 months prior to the second time periphery of choosing the Indian president, wanted desperately, to prevent Netaji's getting elected, Netaji's personality, Netaji, getting elected for the second consecutive time. And so when the Haripura Congress, when the place of the Haripura Congress convention started, when the Haripura Congress convention started, Netaji contested, and this Netaji's contestation was fervently opposed by Mahatma Gandhi, Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel, Sarojini Naidu, Rajendra Prasad, Jawaharlal Nehru and others. But even Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel was terribly opposed to Subhas's dynamic personality, and was opposing to Netaji getting elected. And then the voting on him, and Mahatma Gandhi told that if anybody in the second consecutive time in Indian National Haripura Congress, that if anybody has firm belief in me, please cast your votes for Pattabhi Sitaramaiah, not Subhash Bose. Subhash Bose is not the right candidate for India for the presidential candidature in Indian National Congress. And actually, and then Subhash Bose simply reflected that, okay, if I love my nation, I want to see my nation free from the shackles of slavery, from the bondage of Britishers or tyranny. Please, then you can vote me. If you don't have faith in me, please don't vote me. But then, when the ballots, in that integrated India, when the ballots were being counted, when the election concluded and the ballot boxes were opened and the ballots were being counted, and even Gandhiji got astonished to see, even Pandit Jawaharlal and all others astonished to see that Subhash Bose, convincingly defeated Pattabhi Sitaramaiah, Mahatma Gandhi's own candidate, the father of the nation's own candidate, Pattabhi Sitaramaiah. And see how many Bengali people were, members of the Indian National Congress at that time, that undivided India. So much popular Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose was, so much personality, how deeply, Subhash Bose was accepted by everyone, all without exception. But after getting elected for the second time, all under the leadership of Mahatma Gandhi, Jawaharlal, Vallabhbhai Patel, Rajendra Prasad, Sarojini Naidu and the others, they started opposing Subhash Bose in every decision he wanted to take up. Just try to, if we want to be a bit honest about historical evaluation, we must accept the simple truth. What was the reason behind this terrific opposition by Gandhi and his own associates? Just because Netaji Subhash was focusing on the prime interest of Indian proletariat community, of Indian working class community, of the Dalit class community, of the peasantries, of the poor peasantries, of the Dalit class communities, of the poor peasantries, Dalit classes who were articulated as untouchables at that time. Subhash Bose wanted to give a terrible hammering to all these narrow concepts, and that's why he was being opposed again and again by the higher peripheries, the then elite classes, the then jamindars, tahsildars, and the traditionalists. They feared that Indian National Congress will be Netaji Subhash Bose is channelizing the National Congress movement into the pro-proletariat movement, pro-peasantry, pro-working class party and pro-proletariat movement, Indian National Congress movement, and they feared, and they started opposing Netaji Subhash Bose at each and every particular way. But they couldn't conquer Netaji, and Netaji faced a real problem. Then Netaji decided to resign from the Indian National Congress, in Kolkata. And Rabindranath Tagore, Deshbandhu Chittaranjan Das terribly tried to persuade Mahatma Gandhi, Jawaharlal, Vallabhbhai Patel, Rajendra Prasad, Sarojini Naidu and others, that Subhash is a champion, gallant personality. This trend of Indian National Congress is going to be a suicidal step for the Indian National. But remember, see, Netaji Subhash was so much, even Deshbandhu Chittaranjan Das, Subhash's ideological and his ideological guru and his teacher, you see, Benny Madhav Das, Benny Madhav Das, his teacher in the school level, Abensha Collegiate School, and they had a terrible impact upon Subhas's personality. But, Deshbandhu Chittaranjan Das and Rabindranath Tagore, back to the point, they wanted to protect and preserve Subhas Bose. They wanted to try to understand Gandhi and others, that we shouldn't be opposing Subhas Bose in this way. He's an asset to the nation. But remember, they were not in a mood to spare their criticism on Subhas. And Subhas finally sensed that the clash has reached up to such a level that it was getting quite impossible to work as the president of the Indian National Congress. The way Gandhi and his followers were opposing each and every step that Subhas was taking up. It is not that Gandhi didn't have any love for Subhas, but at this critical juncture of history, possibly our father of the nation, Mahatma Gandhi, didn't do justice to Subhas Bose. Possibly, to my mind, if we are to be a bit honest. And even after India's, and then Subhas went to, he got himself interned in his own house in Elgin Road, and then he had thrown dust on the Britishers and fled away from India, and joined hands with the then Hitler, Mussolini, and others, and Tejwana. But remember, Subhas, they were the fascists, but at that particular time, Subhas was not getting any ally to oust the Britishers. Only these 5, 6, 7 countries were giving Subhas the support. Subhas was terribly opposed to those fascism by Hitler, Mussolini, Teju and others. And many people even today, really try to ridicule Subhas's stature by calling them that he joined hands with Tejo, Mussolini, Hitler. No, he didn't have any resemblance with their ideology. It was only a tactical move. In the game of chess, we often see when the traditional moves don't work, a tactical move always gives dividends in the highest kind of chess contestation. So also in this freedom movement, we can see that Netaji Subhas Bose, for Netaji it was only a tactical move. Netaji had that kind of tremendous, mesmerizing personality that once after earning the independence, he could have ousted the Hitlers or the Mussolinis or Tejos, but they didn't have that kind of personality like Netaji to grab the Indian land. So this kind of false criticism looms large in Indian traditional critical history to belittle Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose and to highlight Mahatma Gandhi, Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel. Well, Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel was an iron man. He had a terrific contribution to the making of an integrated India. But see, had Subhash Bose been victorious, it would have been a real independence. An undivided India would have loomed large. What into that independence we have got? It's not an independence. It's actually a victory for the Britishers. And it's a defeat. It's a simple defeat on our part that we couldn't, the identity, the integration that we managed to keep intact for 5,000 or even more. Despite foreign attacks, Shakun, Patan, Mughal and everywhere, and everything, we couldn't just, keep our lands together. We were divided in the name of religion as India and Pakistan. So Subhas Bose, and even you can see, I was telling in the morning also, when you can see how terrible the contribution of Subhas Bose was for the independence of India. You just think, because when Clement Attlee, after India's freedom struggle, came to India and Kolkata, many journalists of India and outside India and across the global corners simply asked him, Clement Attlee, one particular question. Hello, Mr. Attlee, what? It was not that, it was this kind of things, was not in the same, even 5 years back, what happened that you have to leave India, you have had to leave India, giving them independence, so early, in so much quicker time. Who is responsible for India's independence? Is it Gandhi or Vallabhbhai Patel or Rajendra Prasad or Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru? That Clement Attlee became ferocious and instantly reacted. It's that scoundrel Subhas who was responsible You can understand from the enemy, the eyes of the enemies, who were the real patriot. Subhash Bose, as Rabindranath Tagore told, Deshbandhu Chittaranjan Das, our Deshbandhu Subhash Bose's ideological father, you can say, and Basanti Devi, his ideological mother. They simply, and Subhash Bose was the patriot of the patriots. And Rabindranath, again and again, Rabindranath Tagore. Subhash Bose is that, Subhash Bose, is uncomparable to my mind. But what are we doing? What are we finding even today? Just since the days of independence, Subhash Bose's patriotism was not given a minimum projection. Subhash, all our post-independence history was the endeavor, as it looks very, very tragic, and it looks very simple to my mind, that our national leaders, even after our independence, wanted to hide Netaji Subhash Bose's contribution. They wanted to ridicule Netaji Subhash Bose's and all these things. Netaji, had there been no Netaji, our independence would not have been there for another 50 years. We can bet, because of Britishers. Through non-violence, we could never have acquired freedom. So today, Binoy Badal, Dinesh, Bhagat Singh, Mastata Surya Sen, and all, Rishi Aurobindo and all, all the brilliant, Bhagat Singh and all, they were all Khudiram Bose. You can see they gave their blood, and ultimately what Subhash told via Ithar, give me blood, I promise you freedom. He addressed the Indian community. Actually, not blood, blood means their commitment, love for India, love for the motherland. And Subhash, even when he was anticipating the Britishers are playing communal card to divide India between Hindu land and a Muslim land, Subhash via Ithar was giving cautions to Indian community again and again, that we at this critical time, let me go to India, don't get divided, we are undivided India. See the patriotism, and you see, there was not a single leader, we didn't have a single leader like Netaji Subhash, who was, who could have been accepted by all without exception, Hindus, Muslims, Sikhs, and even the Buddhists, Nagas, Assamiyas and everything. See the contribution, see the formation of Netaji's, Azad Hind Army. Everybody, Hindu, Muslim, Sikhs, Nagas, Gorkhas, Buddha, Bengali, all sects of people of all religion were accumulated their, collective energy to the Azad Hind. And Netaji, all people, the Muslim people only, the Muslim people only had terrific faith in Subhash Bose. When, to my mind, only history will judge it. To my mind, had Netaji been there, the Muslims under, what I would say, Ali Jinnah would never have, pressed for a separate state, because within Subhash Bose, they could have stayed, but Subhash Bose, all Muslim, ordinary Muslims, common Muslim people had a terrific faith in Subhash Bose, and they could not, they didn't go up for the separate nation, because within Subhash Bose they got a man, they got a terrific person to whom each and every one was all and equal, irrespective of religions, caste, community, language. And why? Just because in other leaders they didn't have that much faith, the faith they have had, in Subhash Bose. So Subhash Bose's, relevance even today, the relevance of Subhash Bose is of utmost importance to us. You see, even today, after so many years, even today, if we want to Parakram Divas, we are celebrating. But we have to prove our actions. We have to prove our words in actions. Why? I have repeatedly in previous days also, I have raised this particular point. Why Netaji's, patriotism is not being included in the CBSE, ICSE syllabuses in regional languages? Why is Netaji not being given proper space? In every textbooks of India, everybody, if a single child would be enlightened or to note out what a terrible kind of patriot Netaji was, and they would be inspired. So even today, even the present Indian Prime Minister, Mr. PM Modi is giving certain kind of priority, but still not within the expectation level. And we must back our deeds through actions. Why is not still Netaji's biography not being given proper leverage and proper scope in Indian history, in Indian textbooks across different syllabuses? And that's a terrible question. To my mind, Netaji is that kind of man. Even today, you see, I am seeing it with horror. You see, the other day I was witnessing the Indian, match, India's hockey team's match in this World Cup match against New Zealand. India, what an Indian team, that same team that earned almost the same team that earned a bronze medal in the Olympic. The way they were playing, it lacks, the team lacked penetrating, the intense tenacity of penetrating the opponents. The team lacked, permanence and inspiration from within. They were not playing as an integrated unit. It stood up. Tears were trickling down my eyes. What kind of hockey, miserable hockey, our Indian players providing to us, in presence of our home supporters, of our national, home ground. So, Graham Reed may be a very good coach, very good player, but I see the kind of inspiration, he failed to instill the kind of inspiration and energy that should have been inculcated within the Indian hockey team. Always, the game, every kind of beat in the war front, or be it in the game of any kind of international game. Game is played on both levels, on inward psyche and the outward expression. And the inward potential was that with Indian hockey team, but the outward exuberance, the accumulation of energy stood lacking. And we need, to my mind, Netaji's that kind of leadership qualities will want, like Netaji, who as a coach, India should have a national coach, India should have played a real inspired hockey. Then I'm sure in the coming Olympic, be forgetful in this part, be forgetful of India's India's tragic performance in this World Cup. I'm sure if India does have a national coach, of Indian origin, of Indian eminence, and if he can instill the different kinds of energy together, there is no reason why we shall not be. If we can earn a bronze after so many years in the Olympic, we can win the gold also. Actually, there was very little difference of level in the Olympic game that Indian hockey team provided. But unfortunately, see the poor performance of the Indian hockey team. There was no motivation, lack of energy and everything. So, Netaji, and that was Netaji Subhash Bose. Like a champion leader, accumulated the energy of all different caste community, people of all different caste community, and he instilled within them that hunger for, independence, the hunger for freedom. So, today, I'm sure in India, and in not only in Bengal, not only in India, in all parts of the world, Netaji will be given due importance, because Netaji was the son of the soil. Netaji, Netaji a true disciple of Deshbandhu Chittaranjan Das, and a true student of Bani Madhav Das, and whose godfather was Rabindranath Tagore was, spiritual father Rabindranath Tagore, and his ideological father Deshbandhu Chittaranjan Das, and ideological mother Baswanti Devi, Deshbandhu's wife. You can see, and Subhash Chandra's mother and father, they also had a terrific love for the nation. Prabhavati Devi was a great lady. She always used to, inspire Subhash Bose, because when Subhash had written after completing the ICS in England, and when Subhash had written a small letter to her mother that my life shouldn't be destined for serving the Britishers. I listen to the song of my country, who that has been ruthlessly, that is being ruthlessly tortured by the Britishers. So I can't join the British job. I want to join the freedom struggle. And his mother, Prabhavati Devi, just like a true mother. She was almost the epitome of India, Indian mother. You see the emblem of Indian mother in Prabhavati Devi. And Prabhavati Devi had written a very precise answer to Subhas. There is nothing more important than sacrifice. And if you have decided to sacrifice your life for the nation, well, salute to you, Subhas, go on and continue. And then Netaji Subhas Bose started his journey with Deshbandhu Chittaranjan Das. And you know, the rest is history. Had there been no Subhas Bose, another for 30, 40, 50 years, our independence definitely would have been prolonged. That terrible kind of the terrible kind of commotion, the terrible kind of flood of energy, that started roaming all around. When Netaji Subhas as Azad Hind Fauj, almost came to my small brother here, Prashunda Dasgupta. He was telling that who is the first Prime Minister of India, in a different way, Netaji Subhas, because Netaji came, here and lifted the flag in the Andaman and Nicobar Island, for the first time of an independent Indian nation. So when ultimately 1947, 15th August 1947, we clinched our independence ultimately, that was, to my mind, even today I say, that was not the independence we cherished. That was the defeat on our part, and that was the victory on the Britishers. On the part of the British, because the Britishers are able to divide ourselves into Hindus and Muslims, into India and Pakistan. We are not that nation. Here the Hindus, Muslims, Gorkhas, Jains, all Buddhists, all Nagas, and all Sikhs, all live Bengali peoples, and all live Assamese, Orients, and all, the Telugu people, Tamil, Telugu people, and all live under live together as an integrated unit. So, in this particular time, we must say that our nation would be aspiring for terrible kind of support, would be aspiring to have another Netaji in our natural history. And if we happen to have that kind of scenario, I'm sure in future days we'll be able to assure that kind of dream, a real real India that will be ধর্মে মহান হবে, কর্মে মহান হবে, নবদিন মনে উদিবে আবার, পুরাতনে পুরাবে, এমন দেশটি কোথাও খুঁজে পাবে না কো তুমি, সকল দেশের রানী সেজে আমার জন্মভূমি, ধন ধান্য পুষ্পে ভরা আমাদের এই বসুন্ধরা, তাহার মাঝে আছে দেশ এক সকল দেশের সেরা, পুষ্পে পুষ্পে ভরা সাখী, কুঞ্জে কুঞ্জে গাহে পাখি, গুঞ্জরিয়া শেওলি, পুঞ্জে পুঞ্জে দে, তারা ফুলের উপর ঘুমিয়ে পড়ে, ফুলের মধুকে, ভাইয়ের মায়ের এত স্নেহ কোথায় গেলে পাবে কেহ, ওমা তোমার চরণ দুটি বক্ষে আমার ধরি, কোথায় এমন হরিত ক্ষেত্র আকাশ তলে মেশে, এমন ধানের উপর ঢেউ খেলে যায় বাতাস কাহার দেশে, ধন ধান্য পুষ্পে ভরা আমাদের এই বসুন্ধরা, তাহার মাঝে আছে দেশ এক সকল দেশের সেরা, ও সে স্বপ্ন দিয়ে তৈরি সে দেশ স্মৃতি দিয়ে ঘেরা, এমন দেশটি কোথাও খুঁজে পাবে না কো তুমি, সকল দেশের রানী সেজে আমার জন্মভূমি। জয় হিন্দ, বন্দে মাতরম, জয় হিন্দ, বন্দে মাতরম, ভারত মাতা কি জয়, সুভাষ বোস কি জয়, দেশবন্ধু চিত্তরঞ্জন দাস কি জয়, ভারত মাতা কি জয়, জয় হিন্দ, বন্দে মাতরম।